During citizen forum, you will be able to speak about it. Thank you.
Oh my God. These are who you try to play game now.
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, North Miami neighbors, and guests. My name is Unicia Baker. I'm the Senior Public Information Officer, and it's my pleasure to share some of our city's upcoming events, programs, and initiatives with all of you. The City of North Miami is now accepting Golden Passport applications for qualified seniors and Social Security beneficiaries to ride the Metro Rail and Metro Bus at no cost year-round. To sign up, visit the City of North Miami's Customer Service Center on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. Need help filing your taxes? The AARP Foundation provides free tax return preparations for low and moderate income taxpayers and seniors at the North Miami Public Library every Thursday, beginning February 6th from 10:30 a.m. until 2:30 p.m. Assistance will be available until April 9th. The National Football League will host the 2020 Play Football Family Festival on February 1st from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. at the North Miami Athletic Stadium. The address there is 255 Northeast 151st Street in North Miami. Held the day before the Super Bowl, more than 2,000 student athletes are expected to attend the festival and develop football and life skills through play football events. The festival is open to football fans of all ages and is free of charge. Also on Saturday, February 1st, as part of this year's Black History Month celebration, MOCA invites children ages 6 through 12 to Mini Makers to discover the work of artist Lovely Lewis Molly Lou Jones while learning to create an expressive and colorful mixed media art piece inspired by the art of the African diaspora. Space is limited. Please RSVP at mocanomi.org. Sunday, February 2nd at 11:30 a.m., also as part of this year's Black History Month celebration, MOCA invites children ages 1 to 5 to Sunday Stories featuring the book I Am Enough, a New York bestseller by actress Grace Byers. Then experiment with all colors of the rainbow with tempera paint. Space is limited. Please RSVP at mocanomi.org. We're just days away from the official start of the 2020 Black History Month celebration, and until February 7th, the North Miami Public Library will accept entries for this year's Black History Month essay contest. The topic focuses on innovation of African American inventors. Winners will receive cash prizes during the awards ceremony on February 26th at the library. Log on to www.northmiamifl.gov/library for applications and contest rules. Saturday, February 15th from 2 to 5 p.m., the North Miami Public Library and the Miami Oratorial Society celebrate Black History Month with Spirit 2. This free concert, which includes gospel, spiritual, and classical choir music, is directed by Andrew Anderson. It will feature the Tim Watson Jazz Band. The month of February will conclude with the return of NOMI Fest. The 5th annual NOMI Fest will take place at Cagney Park Saturday, February 29th. This year's headliner is CeeLo Green. The concert will also feature performances by Adina Howard, Sunshine Anderson, and Tanir. Early bird tickets are now on sale for just $10 at www.nomifest.com. Proceeds from ticket sales will support the City of North Miami's Water Utility Bill Assistance Program, benefiting residents facing financial distress. Stay up to date with the latest happenings in our City of North Miami by visiting www.northmiamifl.gov. Then click Connect with NOMI, the Connect with NOMI icon on the homepage where you can sign up to receive our monthly NOMI newsletter. Residents may also like the City of North Miami on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This concludes this evening's announcements.
Thank you very much, Miss Inicia Baker. And now, Madam Clerk, can I hear a motion on the consent agenda, please?
Do we, a
but-
tab, if I have a question about a tab, do we say it now or after?
No, if you have any, you want to remove anything?
Yes, I want to remove, at least for this, tab E.
We did that.
Oh, we did? Oh.
We removed all, we did that
After
already.
all my stuff, I'm so lost.
Yeah.
I don't even know where we are now.
Right? We did all those
Did we? Okay.
tabs, yeah.
Thank you.
Is it removed for discussion or just removed?
That will.
No,
where's
tab
my-
E is removed completely.
Where's my original? I have an original one where,
With the markup?
yeah, with
Oh,
my
here.
markup.
Well, you took mine. Let me get this.
Councilman DeSome, tab E has been moved completely from the agenda, sir.
Yes.
Vice
Okay.
Mayor.
Yes, thank you.
Need a motion for consent?
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you.
Unless a member of the city council wishes to remove a specific item from this portion of the agenda, tabs A through D and F through I constitute the consent agenda. These resolutions and items are self-explanatory and are not expected to require additional review or discussion. These items will be recorded as individually numbered resolutions, adopted unanimously by the following motion: that the consent agenda comprised of tabs A through D and F through I be adopted.
Hold on, tab
Hold on.
F, we were removing for discussion. Tab F, G, and H are removed for discussion.
Yeah.
We're gonna present those.
So I'll make, my motion is to approve under consent tabs A, B, C, D, and I.
Yes. I is not the one that you asked that.
It was E.
It was
It was
E.
E, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. All in favor of?
I have
Aye.
a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve the consent agenda, tabs A, B, C, D, and I. The motion was seconded by
Councilwoman is,
Vice Mayor Desilme. All in-
oh, Marie Estimate
Maria
Irvin.
Estimate, okay.
Yes.
Councilwoman Estimate Irvin, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab F, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the
Tab
city,
Oh, okay.
City of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the expenditure of $80,000 in general funds to be used toward the rehabilitation of the property located at 12555 Northwest 13th Avenue for purposes of providing emergency assistance for one single-family rehabilitation project with life safety code issues, providing for an effective date and all other purposes. Tab F.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Albert Bazil, Housing and Social Service Director. To the Deputy City Manager, I'm here this evening, to ask you to approve this grant assistance to the property owners of 12555 Northwest 13th Avenue. Back in July 16, 2019, Housing and Social Services responded to the fire at this property. Staff went and do an assessment, and they came back with, after the walkthrough, we came back with an assessment about 127,800. Administration made the decision to go back and reassess the property, touching really the necessary stuff that need to be done in order to allow those people to go back to their property because they are currently homeless and are sleeping at other people's house. We went back in July, November 7. They came, fill out the application, they were certified as low income, and they are eligible to receive help from the city. And last week, in January 15, a second walkthrough was performed, and this one came back with 106,900 approximately. And based on administration recommendation, we were not allowed to put that much money on one property, and they authorized us to come to you and ask for approval up to 80,000 to assist the homeowner. So this grant, as stated in our council report, it's a standard language, but it's gonna comply to whatever the HUD housing guideline provided. It's gonna be a rehabilitation loan agreement with the homeowner. We recommended that this property remain on an affordability period for 10 years, and they will follow everything that the HUD program recommended, though the funding is not coming from HUD, it's coming from the general funds. So here we are tonight to ask you to approve this item in order to assist those people to get back on their feet and go back to their house.
Thank you very much. A quick question.
Let me add, Mr. Mayor, and Albert did mention it briefly. There will be a lien placed on the property in the amount of $80,000. It's a 10-year lien, and the lien will decrease over the course of the 10 years until they've met their obligation of living in the property for 10 years. So they cannot get us fixed, we fix the house and resell the house. It will be a lien. We will be the first person on the lien of the property for 10 years.
If I understand that, they own the property free and clear, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, since they did not have insurance when the incident happened,
They did
it's
not.
gonna be required to add insurance every year on it?
Until the 10-period affordability period, until for the 10 years.
Okay, before we spend that money, can we making sure that they,
It's gonna be
Or at the
specified
end
in the agreement.
okay, okay. Thank you very much. Do we have any question on the dais? We're gonna open it to the public or after anybody wish to
No,
ask
it's just-
question?
Those are my questions, that you're gonna have a note and mortgage, and it gets forgiven 1/10 each year,
Yes.
and if they sell it,
They need to pay us back.
they need to pay the prorated amount back.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we have somebody watching all of our loans and housing for the insurance?
Yes, we are.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And those residents been living in the city for about 25 years?
Yes, sir. It's
Okay.
clearly stated here. They've been living in their house since 1993.
Thank you.
Where does the funding come from? Which fund?
It can be both general funds or CRA, because CRA, there is an
From the
allocation.
housing fund?
But it's already, we already have money in the housing fund.
Yeah,
Correct,
yeah.
correct, correct.
Which is in the general fund, but it's not just,
No, we're not
Both.
gonna get brand new funds from the general funds. It's already allocated.
okay, thank you. I just want the people to be.
Now let's,
Thank
you
you.
wanna,
Yeah, just real quick. Tell me more about the insurance, the property owner's insurance if the home burns down.
Again,
again?
No,
Basically, what the insurance is, we will require moving forward, they'll have to obtain homeowners insurance prior to us starting the work, and then through our contract compliance, we will follow up every year to make sure they do renew their insurance. If they fail to renew their insurance, then they're in default of our loan that we gave them.
So if there's a fire, if there's a storm, if there's some other tragic accident at the same
Next time.
property, their homeowner's insurance policy.
Their
will
homeowner
pay
they
for
will
insurance
it.
kick off,
policy will cover.
yes.
Their homeowner's insurance will include us as the first pay as the insured.
Yeah.
Well,
as a
the way
lender.
we ask right now, I'm speaking in my capacity as the contract compliance manager, is we require to add the city as an additional insured.
Right, okay.
So I don't know if Ian, legal.
That's fine, okay. Thank you, and you wanna hear from the public before? Let's open it to the public. Public hearing is open on the item.
Jessica Alston, 1140 Northwest 125 Street, Sunkist Grove. I am of the opinion that if there's going to be housing assistance given to the residents of North Miami, it should not be customized for individual cases. It would be best to have a set program with set qualifications, with set rules, which would apply to any and everyone who meets the qualifications. So therefore, I'm against this customized assistant to this address, in that it should be, if funds are available, and if housing assistance is going to be given, it should be able to be available to any resident who qualifies for it, and that this assistance, if given, should be made available to any other resident who in the future may meet the qualification and get help. So I'm against customizing this assistance to this particular family, that it should be a fund made available to any resident who qualifies in the city of North Miami. Thank you.
Public hearing still open on the item.
Veronica Guzman, 540 Northwest 127th Street. My only issue with this is that where the city is not added as an additional insured, but as the first insured, as the first mortgagee. Because something can happen and then they can receive that money, and if something is left over, then pay back the city. And that's the only thing I'm not comfortable with.
Thank you very much. Can you please take that in consideration and see?
Judy Brown, 1100 Northwest 128 Terrace. My question is, can this be the CRA money? Can they not help this family? Isn't that what the money is for? I mean, we are spending all this money on entertainment, Greg Gardens, Uncle Luke, and we have people like my council person has said over and over, we have people that are really suffering in the city. You know, so the city is still, we're running a deficit, and we all are falling on hard times, and I know the family needs to get back into their home. But that's my question is, the funding.
I think from the last budget, we $3.1 million was allocated for housing, and $2.5 million was from the CRA. And in the sale of Solemia, we just secured another $2 million to address affordable housing in the city. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Kevin Burns, 2065 Alameda Drive. The only question I have is on one of the conditions that you just put on it, that they must have insurance prior to the work. Yes, the city deputy manager said that there must be insurance placed on the property prior to the city issuing the money and so forth. I don't know where in the state of Florida you are going to buy property insurance for a burnt out house. You can hardly get insurance at a reasonable cost for a regular house. I just renewed my insurance and had to go through all the inspections. So you just might want to have a backup plan on how to protect the city's interests, very similar to what Scott had said about, and the young lady said about, the city should be in the first position with their lien in case something does happen to the structure that we're additionally insured. But again, it's been my experience as a broker that it is very difficult to get any type of insurance with a house in that particular condition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. From what I understand, we cannot have property insurance on the property, but during the time of construction, you still can have liability insurance to protect the interest, not the homeowner's insurance.
We're not talking about the house.
It's going to be liability insurance. Thank you very much. Public hearing is still open on the item. Public hearing is now closed.
Yeah, I would just reinforce, and lady is correct, that we should be shown as the mortgagee, and that way, if there was any kind of proceeds, it comes to us first, or it comes to both of us. They can't just get a check; it will come to us. And I think the insurance right now, $80,000 should be covered by the price of the land if something happened. But as they do construction, there is insurance for during the construction and then afterwards. So hopefully within a few months, the house will be rehabbed and the insurance will take effect. And I know that you will be checking that. Yes. Thank you.
Do we have, is the resident here? Not here?
No.
Okay, thank you. Do we, Councilwoman estimate?
I'm fine.
Is
Vice
public hearing
Mayor?
closed?
Yeah,
Mr.
we
Mayor?
close public hearing.
Yeah, I just want to thank the housing. When crisis happen, we all say things until it's us. There's a lot of residents that I know that who does not have insurance. A lot of them are elderly, and some of them, I think once they've been in the city for a while, they pay off their houses, and that was something I was very surprised at. Talking to them, they simply cannot afford it, or some other way. So there's more out there. We just need to pray and kind of find a way that this, encourage more of them, because I know some of them came forward to, request assistance from us, either painting or something, painting of the house or something, and we could not service them because they did not have insurance. So I do want to thank staff for working on
this particular item, and I totally in support of it because I as requested by staff. Thank you.
And another thing, when those fire happen on commercial, we give them CRA money, like we give Alaska
Coffee house.
a lot of money, and
The
that
one right
shoe
here, too.
place right in the corner, we give them a lot of money. I don't see why residents are opposed, are
Let's know
happy
which
that
one
we
is
give
first, Mr.
commercial, and they don't want us to help the residents that been living in the city for over 25 years. That's something that I don't understand. Thank you very much, and now can I hear motion on
So
the
moved.
item?
Second.
I have a motion made by Vice Mayor Desilme to approve the item at tab F. I have a second by Councilman Galvin and Councilwoman Estime Irvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab G, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving Miami-Dade County to release the declaration of restrictions recorded in the public records of Miami-Dade County at or Book 24479, pages 557 to 566, and approving to release the modification of the declaration of restrictions recorded in the public records of Miami-Dade County at or Book 26570, pages 1514 to 1538, to provide for a private school located at 13300 Memorial Highway, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. Tab G.
Yes.
Thank you. For the record, Tanya Wilson with Community Planning and Development. This resolution is regarding the property located at 13300 Memorial Highway. That was formerly the site for Aspire Charter School. The site is approximately 2.34 acres in size. It's zoned public use and has a land use of community facility. The request is basically seeking permission for the applicant to file a release of the restrictive covenant that's held at Miami-Dade County. The board may recall that back in 2014, this area was part of a general annexation of a 35-acre area. This was a subset of that area. One of the clauses in the annexation agreement says that if there is any zoning affiliated activities on that site, then the applicant would have to go back to Miami-Dade County to request release of any covenants or revision of any special exception. This is why this request is before you. They're seeking permission to be able to request that release because it's under new ownership right now. The applicant is actually here. Yes Properties is a private educational school from K through 8th grade. So they're requesting a revision of that restrictive covenant that's held at Miami-Dade County. The applicant is here and wishes to speak on the item at this time.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Mickey Morero from the law firm of Burke Howard L. Fernandez here on behalf of Yes Properties with Rabbis Winkler and Rabbi Schwag of the ownership group and my colleague Emily Balter. As Tanya explained, essentially what we have is a school that's being replaced by another school. The approval under Miami-Dade County was for a charter school for 750 students, and my clients, when that school was no longer going to be proceeding with their use, my clients inquired about taking over the property and maintaining the use under the same conditions of 750 students. The change is that it won't be a charter school by definition, it'll be a private religious Hebrew institution. That we agreed with before they purchased the property, when they were under contract in the due diligence period, we met with your staff to confirm what we believed and what we advised the client, that as long as it remained under those guidelines, a school was a grandfathered use. We made sure that they did not let the legal nonconformity lapse through your code. And what this essentially is I would say it's a bit of a cleanup just to modify the resolution so it reflects what the school actually is and also is under the jurisdiction of your code. There was something that I found a bit odd, that when you all annexed the county, annexed this area from the county, they retained jurisdiction on zoning covenants. And that's a little odd because I would think that as a city, you would like control over property within your jurisdiction. So what this will do is essentially it's a little bit complex how we got here, but it would transfer jurisdiction of this covenant and of this property from the county's jurisdiction to your jurisdiction. And with that, we've met with Tanya and her staff and have agreed to additional conditions operationally that will make the site less, that will minimize any potential impacts as far as traffic and overflow into the street. We've met with staff, we've agreed to those conditions, and what wasn't there before under county jurisdiction and will now be under your jurisdiction is the control through a site plan process, through conditions that you as a city would impose. And we've met with staff, agree with those conditions, and we would ask for your support on really both items G and H, which is the release of the covenant, which ultimately has to go to the county, but the county wanted your input, of course, before they released the document. And then the modification to allow the different ownership of the school, again, remaining with 750 students, probably operating a little bit better through staff's conditions. And we're here to answer questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. And Councilwoman Marie-Estime Yovin is in your district. Do you have any
Yes, I do.
comments? And
Yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm hearing you saying over and over that you're seeking for 750 students?
Right, that's what's currently, under the current declaration of restriction, it's a maximum of 750 students. We do not want to modify that. That's,
Madam Mrs. Wilson, could you clarify that? Because I'm reading it 600. So is it 700 or 750 or 600?
The resolution states 600.
Okay. I just want to make sure that that's a clear understanding. It's 600.
The restriction.
That's when they wanna put 600, and they can go up to 750. Is that what it is? No, it's 600. It got to be 600, right?
Correct.
we'll accept 600. I mean, the client's okay with it. But, okay, all right.
So 600 is the number, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that as well. Also, Ms. Wilson, I'm sorry, could you tell me, so what are some of the restrictions that we're trying to change? So well, one of them I know it's instead of a 6 to 8, from K to 8, correct? So that's one of the restrictions. What are the other restrictions?
So, as you mentioned, it's a K through 8. There's also the staggering of the time.
Okay.
So the times are going to be different for an arrival for the kindergarten grades at 7, and then a staggered arrival for the middle school grades at 8:30. The pickup times have also been staggered. I think one of the important things, too, in terms of Memorial Highway, in the past, Aspire would have that backlog of traffic.
Yes.
This one, the new applicant has now agreed to bring and internalize that traffic, so at least the drop-off and pickup would be happening on the school site and not along the right-of-way as we saw it in the past. There's also going to be a requirement for site plan review. So once that release has occurred on the Miami-Dade side, then we'll be able to bring it back over on the city side where we'll do a review of the renovations, the improvements in the landscaping, anything that's proposed, as I mentioned before, with the drop-off and pickup. That would be the final stage at the city level that will have final site plan approval, administrative site plan
Okay,
approval.
so there are, just to be clear, there are 13 declarations of restriction. So we talked about the changing from K to 8.
Correct.
We talked about the time, the staggered time traffic. What other changes are we asking for
And then
outside?
an agreement that they'll have site plan review by the city of North Miami. So that wouldn't have occurred before under the Aspire
So that
review.
would be, so out of the 13, which bullet point is that one?
So that's a condition of approval for the item tonight. It's in the actual staff report.
So meaning that every other restriction outside of the ones that you've mentioned will remain the same?
It carries over,
So there's I think I read that there needs to be lighting for the school to announce to signal for the speed limit, I should say. Did I read that? So that's, that restriction will stay
And that
as
was
is.
an obligation through Miami-Dade County.
Okay.
That Miami-Dade should have installed that.
So basically, so which one are we doing now in G? Which restriction are we
So the first one
lifting?
is just to release the restrictive covenant itself.
To
and then
release
it's-
all 13?
No, to release the restrictive covenant, because right now it's written for Aspira Charter School.
Okay.
So we're giving them permission to enter into an application with Miami-Dade to have those revisions.
Okay.
And then the companion
what-
item right after.
So let's do
Yeah,
it G
it's
first.
related to it.
Okay. I thought those are all of my questions.
Thank you very much. Let's open it to the public. Public hearing is open on tab G. Public hearing is now closed. Can I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve the item at tab G. The motion was seconded by Councilwoman Estimate Irvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 4-0 vote.
Thank you very much. Tab H is it's about the same. Is there any, is the same thing,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Is it-
so it's a companion item. So the next one is the literal special exception revision that will take place.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very
Oh, the
much.
setback, I'm so sorry. I had questions about, was there a special, can you tell me, is there any setback request?
No, they
On
won't be
here?
touching,
Okay,
they're not
I just wanted to make
demolishing the
sure.
building. So the
Okay.
footprint won't move at all.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tab H is open to the public. Tab H is now closed.
So moved.
Moved. Second.
I have a motion made by Councilwoman Estimate Irvin to approve the item at tab H. The motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. All in favor? All opposed? Item passes with a 4-0 vote.
Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much, and our clients very much look forward to opening the school in your city. Thank you so much.
Thank you and welcome.
Tab M. Proposed resolution of the mayor.
Excuse me, tab I has been. Okay. Tab I, it's in the consent, right?
Yes.
It's an important item. We should explain that. Where's Councilman Desunle? It's important to show that the city is participating in that program. Okay. We will doing council report. We'll discuss that again. What tab, Madam Clerk?
M.
Thank you.
Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving the city administration's competitive selection of Carlos Rivero Plumbing and Septic Tank Contractor, Inc. as the lowest responsible contractor to furnish labor, equipment, materials, and expertise required to provide stormwater and sanitary sewer maintenance services. Further authorizing the city manager and city attorney to negotiate and execute an agreement with the selected contractor for the provision of services in an amount not to exceed $150,000 annually. In accordance with the terms, conditions, and specifications contained in Invitation for Bids IFB number 05-19-20, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes, tab M.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. For the record, Alberto Estrade, Purchasing Director. The item that you have before you under tab M represents the results of solicitation number 05-1920, which was issued by the Purchasing Department to request bids from qualified and experienced contractors to provide the city with stormwater drainage and sanitary sewer structure maintenance on an as-needed basis. As reflected in the council report, which was submitted in support of this item, the city issued this solicitation on October the 4th and received in response 6 proposals in response to this bid. A bid tabulation which reflects the results of the bid proposals and the prices that were submitted by each one of these firms is included on the first page of your report. Based on staff's review and evaluation of the submitted bids and the experience and qualifications of each one of the firms, the firm of Carlos Rivero Plumbing and Septic Tank Contractors Incorporated was deemed to be the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. This bid award is for an initial 3-year term with 2 additional 1-year options to renew, and it's for a not-to-exceed amount of $150,000 annually. This work will be carried out on an as-needed basis and will be issued by work orders or task orders that will be issued by the city's Public Works Department. Here with me in support of this item is the city's Public Works Director, Mr. Whistler Pierre-Louis. In the event that you have any questions regarding the work that is to be performed under this contract. This concludes my presentation of this item, and if you have any questions, we'll be glad to take them.
Thank you very much. Let's open it to the public. Public hearing is open on tab M. Public hearing is now closed.
Move approval.
Second.
Any questions?
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve the item at tab M. The motion was seconded by Councilwoman Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Councilman Vice Mayor Desilmay, how do you vote on tab G?
Yes.
And how do you vote on tab H?
Yes.
Thank you. Tab N, proposed ordinance, second reading of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, amending Chapter 7 of the Code of Ordinances entitled Finance at Article 3, Division 3, entitled Source Selection and Contract Formation, specifically at Section 7-151 entitled Local Business Preference and Local Hiring Requirements in City Contracts, to update the standards for the award of local business preference, providing for repeal, conflict, severability, codification, and for an effective date. Tab N.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. As you recall, this item was brought to you last meeting. This is an ordinance. This is the second reading. We've changed the local preference ordinance. There was the changes are right now any business located in the city that would benefit from this local preference would have to have its certificate of use at least 12 months prior to the city's issuance of the solicitation. They have to have a physical address located within the city's limit in an area zoned for the conduct of such business. And they have to certified in writing and provide all required documents supporting its compliance with the foregoing at the time of submitting its bid or proposals. And at the last meeting, we were asked to add a fourth requirement, which is actually an alternative to the first three, which is a business who subcontracts at least 20% of the contractual amount of a city project with subcontractors who meet the above listed criteria is deemed a local business for award of preference in accordance with this section. Those are the changes, and we ask for your support in this change of ordinance.
Public hearing is open on the item. Tab N. Public hearing is now closed. Can I hear a motion on the item, please? On tab N.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
I have a motion made by Councilman Galvin to approve the item at tab N. The motion was seconded by Councilwoman Estimate Irvin. Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Desilmay, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Estimate Irvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Bien-Aimé, how do you vote?
Yes.
Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab P, proposed ordinance, first reading of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, amending Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of North Miami entitled Administration, Article 3 entitled Boards, Committees, Commissions, specifically at Division 1 in general, to require that all city advisory boards and committees be reviewed every year to determine if there is a need or desire to retain them. Sunset review, providing for repeal, conflict, severability, codification, and for an effective date. Tab P.
Through the Mayor, Larry Springs, City Manager. The item before you today is an item that we've been working with in collaboration with the elected clerk's office. These changes are intended to promote more efficiency and compliance in our oversight of the board and committee process. And I'll kind of briefly go through the summarized changes. First, we will be calling for an annual or a periodic review of the board that would come on a rotating basis. In the year that a particular board is being reviewed, and they will be required to submit a report to the city manager's office outlining the board's accomplishments for the review period, affirming the board is continuing to serve in its ordained purpose, issues related to membership and attendance status, cost to operate, and any possible modifications that may be needed to ensure that the board continues to operate in accordance with its purpose. By the 15th of that same year, the city manager will review all reports and then submit to the city council recommendations on whether a board is functioning as created and whether the board and committee should continue as is, be modified, or sunset. During during both of the April council meetings, the board or committee chair would then present a oral presentation to the city commission, at which time the council will evaluate the report, review the city manager's recommendations, and take any necessary actions. And again, the board and committee will be reviewed on a rotating schedule to avoid situations where all boards and committees are being reviewed at the same time. And also, as a prohibition, any quasi-judicial boards or boards created pursuant to state, federal, or federal law shall be exempt from this process. As an elaboration on the rotating review, you may want to review the boards and committees on a 2-year or 3-year basis and specifically identify the years in which those boards and committees would be reviewed. So, for instance, 1 year you would only review 3 boards, the next year you would do another 3, so on and so forth. So with that, I would ask for your recommendation for approval.
Thank you very much. Let's open it to the public. Public hearing is open. On tab B.
Good evening. William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I'm in support of this measure, but I was wondering if at this time the council could make an effort to sort of standardize our boards and our committees. I guess for a number of years we've had committees with a certain number. Maybe it's been 7, and 2 were appointed by one council member, and 1 and 2 and another, and it's really rather confusing and unnecessarily confusing. Could we at this time, we also have found that sometimes we do not have people showing up to attend these meetings, and therefore we do not achieve a quorum. And therefore you get staff showing up and other people showing up and possibly 3 members from that board, people applying, and therefore it's all for naught and has to go get rescheduled, possibly because there weren't enough people to begin with. We want to have the involvement of the community. I would like to ask the council to consider having each seat designate 2 people for every board, and also at the same time lower the quorum. It's so much easier to sort of manage rather than you have 2 and you have 1 and the rest. But if each of you had 2, wouldn't that be easier to consider this and to make the appointments? And if we also dropped the quorum to possibly 3, or under certain circumstances to be able to facilitate, when everybody has shown up, to be able to facilitate something which may be unanimous, let's say, of 3 people, maybe that could proceed. So just a couple points of consideration to help involve more people and help to expedite the process overall. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you.
Sarah McDevitt, 14490 Northeast 10th Avenue. I think that this, having served on a couple of boards in the city, I see issues oftentimes with attendance and commitment, but I also feel like it's really important to have these boards, and the threat of eliminating some boards due to lack of commitment by certain members who are appointed to the boards just is a bit concerning. I hope that that's not the intent.
Because in some cases, it's one of the few points of contact that or that community members have to really interact with staff in a formalized way. And I just think that, I would encourage council people to make sure that we have full boards, that all appointments are met, and that the people who are being appointed actually want to serve and do consistently show up. And that's the thing that I think is really hard, since maybe from board to board there's not standard procedures for making sure that people come. We have issues. So if there could be some sort of standardized way, like Bill was saying, that we approach how we appoint and how we decide whether or not the people can continue to serve, would be great. Thank you.
Jessica Alston, 1140 Northwest 125 Street in Sunkist Grove. I'm of the opinion that the boards should not be supervised by the manager, and would rather see the clerk's office to facilitate that role, because the application process, etc., to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, does come through the clerk's office. And through that process, I think that the clerk's office develops a rapport with those people who state they have an interest in being on these boards or committees. And I think that it should come under the oversight of the clerk rather than the city manager. Thank you.
Kenneth H. 776 Northeast 125th Street. I think we have 20 boards now in the city. 30. And some of them are very, very important. And only 2 of them require that you be a registered voter within the city. One is the Personnel Board, and the other one is the Parks Commission. And I think that should be expanded to the Charter Review Board, Planning Commission, Board of Adjustment, and Nuisance Abatement Board. And the reason that I bring that up is when you're on a board, you have a big megaphone. But if you can't vote, why should you be on the board? And I'm not worried about, let's say, the CRA. He could be a business person, something like that. But if you're on the Nuisance Abatement Board, you can actually take away a person's certificate of use. Now, to serve on a jury downtown, you have to be a citizen and a voter. If you don't vote, these are 5 key boards. The rest of them, I'll give you an example. The MOCA board. You want people that live outside the city, who have big dollars, who can contribute. That's okay, but these 5 boards directly impact the residents of the city. And if you're going to have a megaphone and be able to speak on it, you should be a registered voter. And again, I reiterate, the Charter Review Board, the Personnel Board, which right now you have to be a registered voter. The Parks Commission, you have to be a registered voter. I think the Planning Commission, you should be a registered voter. Again, the Board of Adjustment, you should be a registered voter, because you have effects on your fellow citizens. You actually have an effect on their destiny. And if you don't have the roots within the city, then why should you have that overall effect on your fellow citizens? It just makes sense. And the other one is the Nuisance Abatement Board. We don't use it too often, but if you're sitting on there, like I say, you can take away somebody's certificate of use. You can close down a motel or what have you, an apartment building. So from that standpoint, I believe that you should be a registered voter of the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Public hearing is still open on the item. Public hearing is now closed. Can I hear your motion?
Before I make a motion, a couple quick questions. We have a provision in place already that if somebody misses 3 meetings, I think it's 3 consecutive meetings, they are automatically removed from said board. Am I mistaken in remembering that? Does anybody know?
I don't think so.
I don't know that right
I think it's
It had
3
nothing to do with
unexcused
quorum.
absences in a year, I believe it is.
Maybe we need to tighten that up. I'm almost sure that it's as I stated, because we've had this discussion before. If somebody misses 3 meetings, obviously if it's an excuse, they're in a hospital or something like that, that's okay. But if it's not excused and there's not a quorum, that it's not then said, well, we didn't have a quorum, so they didn't actually miss the meeting. So I think we need to tighten that up, because if somebody is automatically removed, which was the intent of that provision, it was put in place to try to clean this up. Secondly, oh my gosh, where else was I gonna go with this? Definitely, everybody's saying this should fall under the clerk's office and under the manager's office. Residents who serve on these boards, if there's an issue with somebody not showing up,
Call us.
council members don't know. So if my appointee misses several meetings and nobody tells me, I assume that they're there. I think it would be fantastic for all boards if they liaison with the council members and the council in whole on what they're doing and talking about. These are your boards, not our boards, not staff's boards. Own your agenda, call your own meetings, and report back to council about what's happening. Don't just wait for staff to tell you what's gonna be on your agenda. It's community board, it's not staff's board. My opinion, rock on with setting your own agendas and talking about things you want to talk about. And there was something else I was going to say about missing meetings. Maybe it'll come back to me. I'm sorry.
If through the mayor, if you would allow me, this amendment does not intend to move, I guess, oversight from the city clerk to the city manager's office. The city clerk's functions will remain as they are. This is actually a review process for the council, actually, because ultimately, all the city manager's office is doing is collecting the reports and making sure they get on the agenda for your consideration, and they're setting up the meeting. All of the board applications, qualifications reviews, and all those things will remain with the board. This is just, again, we were just trying to make, and working in collaboration with our elected clerk, making sure we had something in place to ensure that there is almost, I guess, I'm gonna use the word, the board chairs are kind of forced to come to here and make that declaration to you directly.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so when it comes to board, I served on boards for so many years. And Sarah, thank you for sharing, but I think what people need to realize, or we all need to realize, we all play a big role in this. The liaison, the board member, and the council member. When I was a board member, I actually reported to the persons that would actually appoint me and let them know what was going on. But for an effective board, we all need to participate. The liaison needs to participate, the board members need to participate, and like Councilman Galvin said, is if you're going to a meeting, there's no quorum, let us know, and we'll do what we need to do to make sure that we're either replace the person or whatever it is. And somebody mentioned that we shouldn't be eliminating boards. I don't think the intent is to eliminate any boards, but if the board is not effective or not a board that's functioning properly, then it should be eliminated.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, through you, Mr. Manager,
I'm so sorry. I have one more question. I wanted to ask a question to the city manager. In terms of registered voters, could you, that's what I meant to say, the city attorney, if I said manager, I'm sorry. Could you kind of, I guess, explain that, clarify that, please?
I'd actually, if that's a question, I'd like to come back to the board.
Oh, sure.
Because this has come up multiple times, and I don't have a briefing in front of me, but it's come up before in the past. I know I've looked at it. There was some case law that says you can't require citizenship to be a member of the board, but I don't want to go by memory. So if that's what you want, then I'll come back with a report.
Right. And my feeling is that I think it's actually somewhat unfair. It's so great if you're a registered voter. It's great, but there are people that actually are vested in this community, live here for 20, 30 years, and are not American citizens for whatever reason, but they're very vested, and so they should be able to serve. So I just wanted to make sure that there was nothing prohibiting. I'm not against a registered voter, obviously, but if someone is not a registered voter and want to serve, I'm just trying to understand what is wrong with that, especially if the person has property or is invested in their community.
There's a lot of residents, property owners, taxpayers that aren't registered voters, and whether it's citizenship or just choosing not to vote or felons, you
Under,
know.
under 18.
Yeah, that too.
Under 18. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons
Yeah.
people, you know, I think if someone's owning property and paying taxes on it, I think they have a vested interest.
Right, but that doesn't mean that if
I'm in
some.
agreement with
right.
you.
with you.
That's
Oh,
what
okay.
she said.
Yeah, right.
She's agreeing with you.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Yes, sir.
I would agree with both of my colleagues, but I just want to applaud the manager's office and the clerk for coming up with this resolution. Is it an ordinance or resolution? An ordinance. Because we have been talking about this ever since I was clerk. We had issues of the boards not functioning properly, et cetera, et cetera. And this is just one step towards correcting something that's greater than the greater goods, because I think we do have to look at it piece by pieces, because I think Bill made some good suggestion and other residents made other decent, recommendation, because I'm confused about, how many members I have on one board and this and that, but I think we could tackle those issues at a later date. But this is a good step moving in the right direction, so I fully support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Scott.
No, no further questions.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Move
Can I
a
have a
Motion
motion?
to approve?
Second.
I have a motion made by Vice Mayor Desome to approve the item at tab P. The motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. Councilwoman Keys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilwoman Estimate Irvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councilman Galvin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Desome, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Bieneme, how do you vote?
Yes.
Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab Q, Proposed Ordinance, First Reading of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, amending Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of North Miami entitled Administration. This seems to be the same one. I apologize. Yeah, it's not the one. I apologize. Tab Q. An ordinance, first reading of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, amending Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of North Miami entitled Administration, Article 3, entitled Boards, Committees, Commissions, to establish the North Miami Youth Council, providing for repeal, conflict, severability, codification, and for an effective date. Tab Q.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Marie-Estime. Can you explain?
Sure. Thank you so
exactly what it
much. I'm really excited about this ordinance. This would be creating a North Miami Youth Council. So the North Miami Youth Council will serve as a youth forum allowing students and teens of our local community to voice their opinions and wants on local initiatives. Through the North Miami Youth Council, teens will be able to forge relationships with local leaders and professionals, as well as garner the ability to understand the value and impediment of free speech, discuss and learn about local issues of importance, and be challenged to discover ways in which they can actively participate in public life. As a result, as a result of this unique experience, the youth council members will be exposed to differing viewpoints while having the opportunity to share their ideas in a public space. So basically, in a nutshell, this would be a junior council. So this gives the ability for each council person here to appoint 2 students. It also gives the clerk's office an ability to appoint a student, the city manager, and the city attorney's office. And these students talking from the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade will have an ability to talk about issues that affect them in North Miami and present it to council. So I think this is a good initiative for our youth to have them understand what public life is all about and to deal with some of the issues that we are dealing with. There are some, our very own county, Miami-Dade County, has a youth commission as well, and I'd love for our city to have one. So I'm asking my colleagues to support this. I think this will be good for the future of our community.
Thank you very much. Public hearing is open on tab Q. Public hearing is now
Okay.
Kenneth Each, 776 125th. Councilman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mary, I'm a little bit confused. Don't we have the Youth Opportunity Board? Is that, this is going to be something different than that? We have currently a Youth Opportunity Board.
Yes.
Right, but it's
So this would be different than?
yes, it would be.
Because I was a little bit confused. And those are one of the boards that I say, hey, you don't have to be a registered voter for. I just want you to remember something. Right now, two boards. The Parks Commission, it says that you have to be a registered voter, and the Personnel Board, the members of the community that live here have to be a registered voter. What I'm saying to you is the other key boards, I think you should be, there's other boards that you don't have to be a registered voter for. And, okay, I want to make that very clear.
Thank you. Public hearing is still open. Public hearing is now closed. A quick question: do we have a youth council before?
Yeah.
That was Dr. Joseph's? Tried. did
That
you-
was, sorry, I'm sorry. Through the mayor, that was, Mayor Smith Joseph did implement a youth council.
Yes.
I think it was in his last, at the end of his term.
Yeah, I understand it was him, but did we pass an ordinance in regards to that?
I don't think we did an ordinance for it. It was something that we just created. It might have been a
Okay.
resolution
Okay.
that we
Quick-
created to
quick,
move
Mike.
forward.
And that was my question, through the attorney. Would this be, in a resolution? I like the idea, because I know Miami Gardens have one, but I know several cities have done it because the League of Cities, that's one of the things that they're promoting. Is this a resolution? Because I know we are having issues with our current board, so how do we get the parents to get them here? So would this be better serve as a resolution? That creating this, or putting this into the fabric, because we do have, like, the Youth Opportunity Board that kind of, not serve the same purpose, but, well, kind of, in a way, but that's my question to you.
It's really a decision of the council.
Right.
I think the request was that it be codified in our code of ordinances, and so if that's the case, it would have to be a
Right, so I
ordinance change.
Respectfully, I would like it to be an ordinance. It is similar to the Youth Opportunity Board, but I don't think it's the same thing. I think this gives a more comprehensive experience of what the public life. So there basically would be junior councilmen or councilwomen. They'll have an election to choose a mayor or chairperson and go through the experience. They would meet.
Yeah, I understand why
right.
would like to do a resolution
I
instead
p-
of
no,
an ordinance.
Respectfully, I would like it to be an ordinance, because I want our city to have sworn junior elected,
Sworn.
appointed. Yeah, they would.
Sworn.
Let me see
Can
do
we
you have
check the
resolution?
National League of Cities, because they're the one that recommend that we do that to see what is it.
This
because
is
she's talking. My councilwoman said swearing.
so. Just so I could explain, Miami-Dade County has a youth commission, and this is done.
They swear
where,
them too.
yeah, they swear them in, so that, and they take an oath to serve, and they deal with local teen issues.